In the spring of 2026, Operation Epic Fury begins, with American naval and air forces pushing deep into the Persian Gulf. The United States military operates on an $895 billion defense budget, commanding an arsenal of over 13,000 aircraft to sustain intense, long-term operations. Within the first 72 hours, stealth aircraft bypass air defenses to strike over 190 missile launchers. By the metrics of conventional warfare, infrastructure destruction, and air supremacy, the result is a textbook victory. However, those results in the Gulf are not reflected in the stability of the American homefront. Projected domestic gas prices are reaching $5 a gallon, a spike that threatens to erase years of inflation recovery. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan now warn that a conflict lasting beyond 30 days will trigger severe economic contractions. Infrastructure destruction is an incomplete metric for victory. In an integrated economy, a tactical win can coincide with a domestic crisis. Analytical, Iran's strategy does not attempt to match conventional firepower or the count of American aircraft. Instead, they deploy low-cost Shahed kamikaze drones, which cost only a few $1,000s to manufacture. In contrast, a single U.S. Patriot interceptor, the defensive response to these swarms, costs millions of dollars per launch. This forces the U.S. to expend expensive interceptors against disposable targets, intentionally depleting the supply of advanced ammunition. When a defense shield is forced to outspend the incoming threat by a factor of 1,000, the result is economic exhaustion. U.S. air supremacy cannot reach what is buried. Iran protects roughly 3,000 ballistic missiles within fortified underground facilities. The most potent strategic asset is the physical geography of the Strait of Hormuz. Controlling this passage requires no large fleet. Sinking a few commercial tankers or laying sea mines is enough to paralyze the route. Grave. The objective is the weaponization of a choke point to blockade global trade. A closed strait removes 20% of the world's seaborne oil supply from the market overnight. Brent crude prices, the global benchmark, have already climbed from $70 to over $110 per barrel. Analysts warn that if the blockade holds, prices will escalate toward the $200 mark. The Middle East also exports 20 to 30% of global urea. This fertilizer is the primary driver of agricultural yields in developing economies. Airstrikes on these production hubs lead directly to lower crop yields and higher food costs for farmers across South Asia and Latin America. Commercial shipping is now forced to detour around the southern tip of Africa. This adds 3,500 nautical miles and millions in fuel costs to every trip. Logistical delays strand EV battery components and threaten a supply cliff for generic medicines manufactured in India. When energy and food costs rise simultaneously with trade delays, the resulting inflation forces central banks to hike interest rates even as production shrinks. This combination of rising costs and falling output is what triggers a global recession. Measured in the 21st century, military parity is secondary to economic resilience. Survival depends less on the battle in the Gulf and more on enduring the ensuing collapse of the global supply chain.